Hey everybody, welcome to another video, and in today's video I'll be going over Game 7 of the Toronto Blue Jays season, which sees them lose the series finale against the Chicago White Sox 4-3. In this game, I thought the Blue Jays played pretty well. I kind of had the feeling all game while I was watching the game tonight that I had a feeling that the White Sox were going to win this game. They started out getting out to an early lead. They were eventually up 3-1. The Blue Jays ended up tying it midway through the game, and then the White Sox took the lead late and didn't look back from then and ended up winning the series finale to avoid the sweep. For the White Sox, Matt Davidson, I believe, picks up the first home run. I believe that's what his name is. Jose Abreu in the 8th inning picks up a solo home run, which would eventually be the game-winning run. They also scored 2 runs, 1 run with the bases loaded by a hit by a pitch, which then walked in a run, and kind of a weird play on a fly ball to left where Granderson makes he jumps for it, and it looks like initially that he kind of knocked it out of the air with his glove, and then as the ball dropped, he caught it, and then all the base runners had to re-tag back up, but over the replay, they kind of show that the ball hit behind the wall, and then it hit Granderson's glove, and it just dropped down. And then he caught it to make it appear like, oh, it went off his glove, and he still caught it. So they ended up getting the call right, and they ended up giving them which would be the 2-1 lead at the time. And then obviously the next batter would get hit by a pitch to make it 3-1. For the Blue Jays, Russell Martin picks up the RBI ground out. He picks up an RBI. His RBI would tie the game at 1. It's good to see Kendrys Morales pick up an RBI 2 in the 6th inning, which would eventually tie the game at 3. Steve Pearce came in as a pinch hitter for Curtis Granderson, also in the 6th inning as well. He also picked up an RBI single on the very first pitch he saw. So that's Steve Pearce's first RBI. He hasn't been early on in the season. He hasn't been in any gains because apparently he was dealing with a flu. So it's nice to see him finally healthy, and maybe we'll see him get some game action in the upcoming road trip for the Blue Jays. Also for the Blue Jays, I thought the Blue Jays, they played well really defensively. It's kind of a tough loss that they lost tonight, but I kind of figured one of our relievers were going to have a bad game. And Ryan Tepera obviously gave up the home run late to Jose Abreu, who would give the White Sox the lead in the top of the 8th. Overall, though, the defense was really good. We turned 4 double plays tonight, which the score could have been a lot worse for the Blue Jays. The White Sox could have been winning by at least 2 or 3 runs if it weren't for the 4 double plays tonight by the Blue Jays defense. I thought Sanchez pitched really well. He didn't run out of gas. I think he threw 99 pitches tonight, which was insane. The first start, like I mentioned, his control was kind of all over the place. He was huffing and puffing, he completely was out of gas after 80 pitches. Tonight, none of that. He looked completely fine. So that's pretty good to see. His control was much better, I thought. He didn't walk as many batters. I think he only had 2 walks tonight. As where his first start, I think he had 5. So it's good to see that the walks are down. So that means he's got better control. The velocity on the fastball wasn't really working for him tonight. He was having trouble getting the sinking motion on the hard 4-seamer that he throws. But the changeup was working really well for him. And all of his off-speed stuff was really working, getting a lot of White Sox hitters to strike out. I believe he picked up 9 strikeouts tonight or something around there. He was striking out a lot of batters, Aaron Sanchez, early on. Again, it's a tough loss for the Blue Jays. I kind of had the feeling that the White Sox kind of wanted this game more. But again, I kind of blame the Blue Jays. And this is the problem that they had in previous years, and it still remains to be a problem, is runners in scoring position. I believe it was the 6th inning after Kendrys Morales hit an RBI single, which he stretched to a double when they tried to throw it home. They had runners at second and third, 2 outs. Kevin Pillar was at the plate and strikes out. So right there, if Kevin Pillar gets a base hit, we're probably up 5-3 at that point, and smooth sailing there. Maybe John Gibbons uses the bullpen differently. Maybe he doesn't bring in Sen-1-0 for the 7th. Maybe he passes up Ryan Tepera for Aaron Loop, and then brings in Osuna for the 9th. Maybe he uses his bullpen differently. Maybe that home run gets avoided. But that's how it goes. We didn't seem to get our breaks tonight when we had runners in scoring position. Even early on, I think there was a situation where we had a runner on third. And it was first and third. I believe this was back in like the second or the third inning. We hit a ground ball. White Sox made a great defensive play. And a great heads-up defensive play by throwing to home instead of trying to turn 2 for the double play. And that basically saved them a run, which turned out to be pretty big because the Blue Jays never ended up tying the game. And that one run would have made it 4-4. Combine that with the Kevin Pillar single, if he would have gotten the hit with the runners in scoring position, we could have easily managed about 6 runs tonight. So I got to give the White Sox credit. They played good defense as well. And their pitcher, Carson Fulmer, I was actually surprised. I didn't really hear much about this kid. He was a first-round pick, I think 8th overall in like 2015. He looks really good. The kid's solid. His control is kind of They were saying on the broadcast that he might have some games where he's really good, like he's lights out good, and then there'll be games where he's going to get tagged for a lot of runs, and there'll be games where he'll walk a lot of batters. I thought the White Sox took him out too early. I believe they took him out, and he only threw like 73 pitches. I know he was in a situation where Granderson was coming up. He's got good numbers in the cleanup spot early on. I believe at the time it was second and third. It was the 3-1 game. That's why the Blue Jays rallied off 3 runs, because they got to the White Sox bullpen. But I think that was the wrong move. I would have let Carson Fulmer battle through that situation, give him a chance. I mean, 73 pitches is not a lot of pitches for a starter. I know he's still a rookie. He's only 24, but you got to let the kid battle through those situations. He was pitching really well. I believe he was throwing a slider. It was really working for him tonight. Whatever his strikeout pitch was, I believe it was the slider that he was throwing. It was working. It was getting him a lot of strikeouts and a lot of outs early on in the game. I don't agree with the decision to take him out, but eventually it pays off for the White Sox in the end. They ended up winning the game, so you can't really fault their manager too much for pulling him out when they did, but when he did pull him out, they almost blew the whole game. So a little risky, but I would have liked to see the kid pitch more. He looks like an exciting young pitching prospect on the roster. So the White Sox, I'm telling you, in the next year or two, they're going to have some pretty good young arms in that rotation, and Carson Fulmer is going to be one of them. Obviously, the big well-known one is Michael Kopech, but he's yet to be called up, but he should be called up this season. That kid is unreal. He throws like 100 easily, just blows fastballs right by people. But for Blue Jay fans, that'll do it for this homestand. It's a winning homestand, 4-3 in the 7 games. The split against the Yankees, series win against the White Sox. Overall, I think that's good. Anytime we can get a series win in a homestand, that's great, because that'll help us continue to be above 500. We hit on the road for 3 games in Texas this weekend. Next Monday and Wednesday, we're in Baltimore for 3. Then we have an off day again next Thursday before we play a weekend series against the Cleveland Indians, before we return home to face the Kansas City Royals for 3 games on the next Monday to Wednesday after next week. So for this upcoming road trip, I'm hoping for at least 6 wins out of the 9 games. I think Cleveland will give us the toughest test. Like I said in yesterday's video, I believe Baltimore has probably one of the worst rotations in all of baseball. their rotation kind of looks shaky. They give up a lot. They've been giving up a lot of runs early on this season, so the Blue Jays should have the ability to get to the Baltimore rotation. Texas, I haven't seen too much of their games early on this season. They're projected to be, I think, 4th or 5th in the ALS this year. They're not projected to finish anywhere close to the playoffs. Their rotation's kind of taken a hit over the past year or so. So, again, I would like to see 2 out of 3 from Texas, but the Texas Rangers play us tough. The Cleveland Indians play us really tough. And Baltimore does play us tough, but, again, I think we can get to Baltimore's rotation. And I'm hoping for a 3-game sweep in Baltimore. I think we can get 2 out of 3 in Texas, and I think if we can get 2 out of 3 in Cleveland, that's fantastic. And if we can come out of this road trip with like a 6-3 record, I'll be really happy. You know, it'll have a lot of Blue Jay fans feeling good about where the team's headed this season. And yeah, that's and it'd be a good start in the first month is always key. It helps set up a good rest of the year, which the Blue Jays did not have last year. They didn't even get over 500. But that'll do it for today's video. I thank you all so much for watching if you watched up to this point. And I'll talk to you all on Friday when they face the Texas Rangers.